and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Coming up, federal government says workers will not lose anything as new national minimum wage takes effect from the 1st of May 2024. And the House of Representatives directs the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission to suspend implementation of the new incremental tariff on Band A customers. Nigeria Police Force arrests suspected mastermind of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack, Ibrahim Abdullahi, also known as Monday. Plus, United Nations extends condolences to countries across East Africa, says it's ready to offer additional assistance following devastating floods. I begin News Round with the federal government saying the implementation of the new national minimum wage, when concluded, will begin from May the 1st this year. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented President Bola Tinubu at the May Day celebration held at the Eagle Square, Abuja, said the federal government is open and willing to implement the recommendations of the tripartite committee working on the minimum wage.
Dressed in colorful attires, workers in Abuja converge on the Eagle Square to celebrate the 2024 Workers' Day. It's the first Workers' Day celebration under President Bola Tinubu's government, and the Vice President is here leading other government officials in solidarity with the workers. The organized labor in Nigeria has been agitating for better welfare, amongst other needs, in the face of daunting economic challenges. And this occasion provides an opportunity for the leaders to reiterate their demands.
The Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC have made it clearly and emphatically that should the minimum wage negotiation continue and linger till the end of May, we can no longer guarantee industrial harmony in this country.
The NLC and TUC hereby advise NEC and power sector operators to reverse the last increase in electricity tariff within the next 1 week.
However, they are short of government support.
Despite the short delay, the minimum wage will take effect on from 1st May 2024. We are not going to lose any time.
Vice President Kashim Shettima presents President Bola Tinubu's address to the workers, commending the role of the organized labor in the growth of the country.
I do not take for granted the understanding, patience, commitment, and support you have shown throughout the implementation of these government's policies and programs. The success of our government's policies and programs hinges on the willingness of workers as the backbone of our workforce to embrace them wholeheartedly. I appeal to you to continue using the power of the labor movement for the greater good of our nation.
Done with speeches, the workers march past, saluting the number 2 worker in the country. The Vice President observed the colorful display. This year's Workers' Day, themed People First, aims to promote awareness about the importance of implementing people-centered policies and government programs. In spite of the current economic situation in the country, Nigerian workers have remained undaunted. The colorful display here today has shown how resilient they are in the face of the myriad of challenges in the country. However, beyond being self-motivated, they want the government, the federal, state, and local governments to ensure that better welfare and condition of service are put in place. From the Eagle Square in Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And the recent hike in electricity tariff remains a sore subject of discussion in the country, but the Senate Committee on Power has decided to wade into the debate. They are demanding affordable tariffs and also want the increase to be halted for consultation to be carried out in order to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians. The lawmakers made their position known at an investigative hearing on the electricity tariff hike in Abuja.
Committee members here.
The hike in electricity tariff in the face of the power drought in many parts of the country is at the heart of conversations here at this one-day investigative hearing. The Minister of Power, the Electricity Regulatory Commission, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the CBN and other stakeholders appear before the committee as the lawmakers raise questions bordering on the inefficiency in the sector.
What you have just done, because that's the kind of conversation we're having here. Can we really classify Nigerians into these different categories?
We made it a conditional tariff. We made it a service reflective tariff. On this, I can actually assure Nigerians that any customer that is not enjoying 20 hours will not pay the new tariff regime.
Stakeholders took turns to share their perspectives and fears.
We are calling for a reversal and a suspension of the implementation of the new tariff to enable all stakeholders have meaningful dialogue around the process and methodology of determining the electricity tariff, as well as jointly agreeing on the transparent mechanism required for tariff setting.
As reality sank, the atmosphere became charged.
Minister, you are not going to be minister forever. You will become like us, maybe in the next 4 years. And you are going to face this problem. I'm just telling you. No, you are not like me now. You are privileged. Minister, those policies are not working. You have to go back to the drawing board. Rethink about them. Come back with a better solution is beg these companies, beg Siemens or ABB to take over this. They have the resources to run this thing. It's not too late.
As senators and a lot of our neighbors, we monitored what we get for Band A, and it is nowhere, not even 50% of what the discos say we are to get, and that we can verify.
Other lawmakers are also clearly dissatisfied, expressly blaming the minister.
The issue of removal of subsidy, we are all there. If you are comfortable at home, are a lot of people so comfortable? There's no way we can add this electricity increase now to petroleum subsidy removal at the same time and expect people not to be suffocated.
In the past, there were no consequences for such actions. Somebody takes 22 or 50 something billion and he says he cannot appear before the Senate. What is the EFCC doing? Is it only for politicians? Is it only for individuals?
As the nation continues to groan under the brunt of the protracted challenge, the minister makes one demand to engender a short to medium-term solution.
Let us use this 15% Band A as a proof of concept. Let's use it as a pilot. And let's use it as if it's a sacrifice that we all must be receptive to the step that we have taken. It was not targeted at hurting Nigerians further. Impress it on the generators. We want to improve generation to 6,000. If the people want tariff to remain at this level, in 3 months, sincerely, the entire country will be in darkness. I can assure you that. And God forbid. But we need to make progress.
The lawmakers are apparently left more dissatisfied than when they began. They have thrown a challenge to the federal government to introduce strategies that would improve the ailing sector, as they promise to wield the big stick on any agency found culpable. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, after 6 weeks of recess, the Senate has resumed plenary in the freshly renovated chamber, which had been closed for over 2 years. Shortly after the announcements by the President of the Senate, a heated argument ensued between three senators over the sitting arrangement in the renovated chamber.
6 weeks after lawmakers went on recess, they resumed plenary in a different atmosphere, converging on the once familiar space, the newly renovated hallowed chamber, which had been undergoing renovation since 2022. The lawmakers had barely settled in when a slight commotion was observed, just as the President of the Senate read out some announcements.
The victories.
The bickering continued among Senator Yel from Zamfara North, the leader of the Senate, Boyemi Bamidele, and Senator Danjuma Goje, who had joined the fray. For about 20 minutes, they poured out their displeasure over the seats allocated to them as ranking senators. Eventually, the President of the Senate called the grieving parties to approach the chair. After dousing the tension, he managed to read his welcome speech.
Both the Senate and the House of Representatives must collaborate and cooperate and provide the wings for the entirety of the National Assembly to fly and lift Nigerians out of the current quagmire. We must at all times collaborate, working together with the other arms of government, talking about the executive and the judiciary, without compromising our constitutional duties in order for our democracy to thrive.
Senator Akpabio continues with a reminder to his colleagues to implement a culture of care and courage while building consensus on ways to combat widespread poverty, among other issues.
Let us pool our resources, our talents, our ideas, whilst respecting our differences and convictions of conscience. At the same time, let us not forget those trapped in the cycle of poverty. Our fight against poverty and hunger must be total and relentless. The Nigerian people have placed their trust in us, and it is our duty to honor that trust.
It was a much calmer atmosphere hours after the closed-door session, as the Senate observed a minute's silence in honor of the former Senate spokesperson, Senator Ayogu Eze, who passed recently at the age of 66. The Senate adjourns plenary till May 7 to allow more time to conclude renovation work in the chamber. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Now to security matters. 2 years after the deadly attack on an Abuja-Kaduna train that left at least 9 persons dead, the police say they have arrested the alleged mastermind of that attack. Addressing a news conference in Kaduna, the Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Olumiyiwa Dejobi, says the suspect, Ibrahim Abdullahi, who was arrested at the Abuja-Kaduna highway, confessed to being the leader of a kidnap syndicate that's been terrorizing the Abuja-Kaduna highway.
Ensuring a safer highway is the objective of this area patrol. Nigeria Police Force says it's determined and will continue to comb the Abuja-Kaduna highway and rail tracks, and indeed every nook and cranny for criminals. With the patrol over, the police parade suspects, including the alleged mastermind of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack, Ibrahim Abdullahi, who is the leader of a kidnap syndicate terrorizing passengers plying the Abuja-Kaduna highway.
The same thing. This set of people are those that are attacking our power generation plants.
At a news conference in Kaduna, the police public relations officer explains how the suspect was arrested.
You will recollect that on 12th January 2024, police operatives attached to anti-kidnapping unit of Kaduna State Criminal Investigation Department, CID, based on credible information, swept in and arrested one Ibrahim Abdullahi, A.K. Mande, at Abuja-Kaduna Road, flyover by Rideau Junction. The suspect confessed to being the leader of a kidnap syndicate terrorizing Kaduna-Abuja highway, ranked among other criminals like Dogo Gide and Bello Toji.
The police reel out statistics of other suspects arrested from January 2024 to date.
On February 29, 2024, vigilant operatives of the Kaduna Command Monitoring Unit conducted a well-coordinated operations at the residence of a suspected kidnapper. On 7th of April 2024, Police operative attached to the Force Intelligence Department Special Tactical Squad in Abuja, in collaboration with Operation Yaki operatives in Kaduna, command arrested one Abubakar Umar, age 20 years. Please mark the age or ages of some of the suspects we are showcasing today.
On March the 28th, 2022, suspected terrorists bombed the Abuja-Kaduna rail tracks. The train derailed after an improvised explosive device planted by the terrorists exploded underneath one of the coaches. The terrorists surrounded the train, shooting sporadically and killing 9 passengers, after which over 100 others were abducted.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, as the nation continues to battle with insecurity, the Northern Governors Forum is resolved to explore state policing models that are built on the foundation of cooperation and collaboration amongst the 19 states in the region. The chairman of the forum, Governor Inuwa Yahya of Gombe State, made the assertion at the opening session of the Northern Governors meeting holding in Kaduna State, reaffirms the willingness of the Northern Governors to work with the federal government to provide lasting solutions to the security challenges bedeviling the region.
Governors of the 19 northern states arriving at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim House in Kaduna for a crucial meeting. This is the first time the governors are meeting this year after their inaugural meeting in December 2023. Present here are the governors of Kaduna, Gombe, Borno, Nasarawa, Bauchi, Jigawa, Plateau, Zamfara, Katsina, Kebbi, and the deputy governors of Yobe, Sokoto, and Kano states. Top on the agenda of the meeting are the issues of insecurity ravaging the north, the high level of poverty and literacy levels. Other issues are human capital development and regional integration, considered major keys for the development of the northern region.
Human capital development is critical to the progress and prosperity of the region, and express concern that the region is currently bearing the burden of having the highest number of out-of-school children in the world.
The meeting affords the governors a look at the successes recorded so far in the fight against insecurity, as well as the challenges ahead. The host governor, Senator Obasani, urges his colleagues to re-strategize and come up with a common approach for the development of the region.
It is for this reason, therefore, that I wish to reiterate my earlier call for northern states to develop a common strategy and operational plan to tackle insecurity. Let us establish a command and control center to coordinate our joint efforts.
It is important that we begin to explore state policy models that are built on the foundation of cooperation and collaboration amongst our northern states. Economic development is paramount to our region's security. In this regard, the revitalization of the new Nigeria Development Company, NNDC, is at the heart of our economic agenda for northern Nigeria.
On the courtesy call, the Executive Committee and Board of Trustees of the Arewa Consultative Forum, as well as the coalition of northern groups, who made their presentations on how to tackle the region's challenges.
We have briefed the governors on a report that we generated after extensive consultations of over 6 months with all stakeholders across northern Nigeria, and came up with certain recommendations on how to solve the insecurity problem in northern Nigeria.
We see light at the end of the tunnel. We believe that after this deliberation, definitely insecurity in northern Nigeria will be a thing of history. We will restore not only security in northern Nigeria, but unity, peace, and harmony.
The northern region of Nigeria currently faces the challenges of having the highest number of out-of-school children, which significantly contributes to the security issues in that area. Consequently, there is an expectation that the Northern Governors Forum will not only talk, but also take action by addressing various human, infrastructure, and environmental challenges.
And the federal government is again reaffirming its commitment to collaborate with Interpol and other relevant agencies to tackle issues of cybercrime. Addressing participants at the 10th Africa Working Group on Cybercrime for Heads of Units, the Minister of Police Affairs, Ibrahim Gaidam, says the federal government remains committed to the global fight against cybercrime.
It is the 10th Africa Working Group on Cybercrime for heads of units as representatives of various agencies converged on Abuja. The director of cybercrime of Interpol begins the conversation as he harps on the need for effective collaboration.
The policing responsibility we carry is substantial and ever-changing. It involves acquiring information, making decisions, and sometimes making difficult choices. Your experience, wisdom, and dedication are invaluable in this ever-evolving landscape of cyber threats. The challenges we face may seem daunting at times, but it is your resilience and determination that continues to drive progress and innovation in combating cybercrime.
For the Inspector General of Police and the Vice President Africa of Interpol, the threat of cybercrime is a global phenomenon that must be contained.
The rise of cyber criminal activities poses significant challenges to our law enforcement agencies, requiring us to adapt swiftly and collaboratively to effectively combat these threats.
As you may be aware, transnational organized crime is a source of the illegal global economy, and this industry is not stagnant, but adapting the new markets and creating new fronts of crime. This industry is an illegal business that transcends culture, social linguistics, and geographical boundaries.
Without mincing words, the federal government reaffirms a commitment to tackle the menace.
The federal government of Nigeria is deeply committed to strengthening the capacity of our law enforcement agencies in the fight against cybercrime and indeed all forms of cyber security breaches.
The 10th Africa Working Group on Cybercrime for heads of units, which continued behind closed doors, is aimed at reviewing strategies and other collaborative efforts that will ensure a safe cyberspace for all.
And a former national commissioner in charge of voter education, Mr. Festus Okoye, is advocating political parties reforms as part of ways to improve electoral outcomes in the country. According to him, no amount of endless reforms will help the country's electoral system get better unless the political parties and their operators are willing to be reformed. Mr. Okoye said this at the post-2023 general elections reflection roundtable organized by Yaga Africa in Abuja.
Has been the trend.
It's been 1 year and 2 months since the 2023 general elections in Nigeria, and members of Yaga Africa and development partners are holding this roundtable to reflect on the needed reforms to be pursued going forward. Conversations around how the outcome of the 2023 general elections has affected the perceptions of voters top discussions here.
Reflection is a key feature of every system. If we cannot reflect, if we don't have the culture of reflecting, then we wouldn't know where we are coming from or where we're going to. The lessons from the last elections, both the presidential, the governorship, the legislative, the off-cycle elections we had later in the year, that's Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi, and then the rerun and by-elections that we had this year. There were things that we never thought would happen, things as simple as pre-filled result sheets before elections are conducted. Those are things that shouldn't happen in any sane climate, and we should be worried about that.
The second major trend is the unknown stance of the Tinubu-led administration on electoral reform. After 1 year of the last general elections, the president has not made any comment or even shared, what his stance or the stance of his administration on electoral reforms.
The crux of this conference is a reflection of the 2023 general elections and the reforms needed to be pursued. The former INEC National Commissioner in charge of voter education, Mr. Festus Okoye, advocates urgent political party reforms.
It seems to me that electoral reforms last for 2 electoral cycles in Nigeria, and the political elite will find an antidote on how to combat it. So I think that one of the things we must do as a people and as a nation is to focus on the organization of political parties, focus on the internal dynamics of the political parties, and also get the political parties to reform themselves. If the political parties do the right things, that our electoral process will begin to improve.
It is expected that the recommendations from this roundtable will form a basis for the next round of electoral reforms that civil society groups in the electoral space will pursue.
And finally, in news round, the United Nations says it's ready to provide additional support to the national authorities across East Africa who are battling heavy rains and flooding. Speaking from New York, spokesperson for the UN Chief Antonio Guterres, Stephanie Dujarric, also extended Mr. Guterres' condolences to those affected. He also expressed his deep distress at the news of the hundreds of lives lost and many others affected by the heavy flooding in Burundi, Kenya, Somalia, and Tanzania, as well as other parts of East Africa.
The Secretary General expressed his deep distress at the news of the hundreds of lives lost and many others affected by the heavy flooding in Burundi, in Kenya, Somalia, and Tanzania, as well as other parts of East Africa. The United Nations and its partners are working closely with national authorities to address the humanitarian requirements. The Secretary General stresses that the United Nations stands ready to offer any additional assistance that may be needed during this very difficult period. The Secretary General is extremely concerned about the impacts of El Nino-triggered extreme weather, which risks further devastating communities and undermining livelihoods.